everyone. It's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 13 Pro and compare it against the iPhone 16 and see which particular phone is a better one for you. Now here's the thing, I would definitely tell you in almost every single way, the iPhone 16 might be a better phone, but there are still some advantages for the iPhone 13 Pro, the older $1,000 phone, and I think in some ways the 13 Pro could be better. So we'll talk about all that stuff throughout this whole entire video, but if at any point you want to pick up either one of these phones, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both, the iPhone 13 Pro on the front side of this particular phone is basically giving you a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. Now with this type of panel, there's a few things to keep in mind. One, it's a good sized panel, 6.1 inches. You are getting the notch up top, so it's not a dynamic island, it is a notch. A little bit of a thicker amount of bezel maybe compared to the iPhone 16, but you are getting a ProMotion 120Hz display on this phone. And that in and of itself is a very nice thing to have. It's also a heftier phone. It feels like still like $1,000 phone in so many ways. And this is a beautiful device. This used to be the phone I used to use on an everyday basis, and I loved it a lot. And that display easily was the thing that just kept pushing me over and over to not even wanting to upgrade because it was just such an amazing display when it came down to it. Now, on the iPhone 16, on the other hand, this phone is giving you the same size display, so 6.1 inches, but this one is a little bit of a different type of panel. So it gets brighter and all that. You're getting the dynamic island at the very top, but this one is giving you a 60 Hz display. So this is a really big disadvantage for this type of phone. For a phone that came out in 2024, for it basically having 60 Hz is very outdated. I would have expected better from Apple, and that's just kind of what's going on here. So kind of sad. I feel like Apple should have, been able to do better, but the 13 Pro definitely looks better on the front. On top of that, another interesting thing is that when it comes down to the bodies, I would say in some ways the iPhone 13 Pro's body feels more premium. Like if you're looking at this reflective side, like that is very, very premium for sure. On the top, you're not really getting anything. You're getting the action button on the side of the iPhone 16. A big difference though, a really big advantage for the iPhone 16 is USB-C. You were getting USB-C on the bottom of the iPhone 16, which is really big. You're only getting Lightning on the bottom of the iPhone 13 Pro. So that is something that's actually pretty big. I would say definitely with the iPhone 16, getting USB-C is very big. And that in and of itself could be a really big upgrade for sure. On the other side, you're getting a dedicated camera button on the iPhone 16. So this allows you to click into it and take photos and videos. You can zoom in and zoom out with it. I don't really know who's really even going to use it too much, but it's still a nice feature to have. And then you have your side button right up here. On the back side, you're getting your frosted glass backs. So both phones are basically giving you this type of capability here too, which again is very nice. Triple camera setup on the iPhone 13 Pro with a LiDAR sensor. iPhone 16 only giving you a dual wide angle camera. So still okay, but we'll talk about that throughout this whole entire video. MagSafe capability on the backside on both, wireless charging on both, IP certification on both as well. There is still a ton of overlap here, right? And that's something I really did like. I don't know if there's a perfect phone here necessarily, but I do like both these phones, and I definitely will tell you the iPhone 13 Pro feels much more premium than something like the iPhone 16. Now on top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind is probably with the overall the overall software updates going forward. With something like the iPhone 13 Pro, it is an older phone than something like the iPhone 16. So because of that, you're going to have to kind of keep that in mind that this phone is just going to be an older type of device and it's not going to last as long compared to something like the iPhone 16. Although it's not the biggest deal in the world, that is just one thing you're going to have to keep in mind. But I still like something like the iPhone 16, and I think the 13 Pro, like I said before, is going to perform, really well. But if you're talking about which one's going to last the longest, it probably is going to be the iPhone 16 when it comes down to it. So, and that kind of covers it up there. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone 13 Pro has that Apple A15 Bionic chip inside of it with 6 GB of RAM, where the iPhone 16 has that Apple A18 chip inside of it with 8 GB of RAM. So let's go and see which one's a faster phone between both. Okay, there we go. All the apps are cleared out in the background. 13 Pro is here, iPhone 16 is here. Let's get into it. Phone calls 3, 2, 1. About the same thing. Music 3, 2, 1. About the same thing too. App Stores 3, 2, 1. Okay, a little bit of a difference there. Scrolling through, let's see if there's any big differences, which I don't really think there's going to be, but yeah, they look kind of the same thing, to be honest, not that big of a difference there. Hopping out of these two, clock 3, 2, 1. A little bit of a delay on the iPhone 13 Pro. Camera 3, 2, 1. Not that big of a difference there either. Male 321. So there's a lot of overlap here. I'm not really seeing like these massive differences here for the most part, at least going in and out of both of them. Okay, let's go and get out of both of these. Podcast 321. So far, I think the iPhone 16 is doing better, but the iPhone 13 Pro is still doing pretty good for the most part. But I am noticing with that 120 hertz display, there's a really big change here. Like you're definitely seeing an overall better experience or smoother experience on the iPhone 13 Pro, but it's faster on the iPhone 16, if that makes any sense. So kind of keep that in mind here for the most part. Now let's go and get into some of these other applications. Let's go and try something like Subway Surfers 321. Now this game again is not that complicated, but it'll kind of demonstrate the loading speeds. I mean, you can even just tell from that was significantly faster on something like the iPhone 16. Getting into the actual game, let's see if there's any like delays or anything like that, which I don't think there's going to be. So it looks about the same. Hopping out of here, Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And with this game, again, same exact process, not that complicated of a game, but fun to test. And with this one, you can kind of see that the iPhone 16, again, is the faster one here for the most part. But the 13 Pro was only just like a little bit behind it. Like it really wasn't like that big of a difference here for the most part, as far as I can tell. You can see for yourself. Not too many glitches here. Hopping out of here, Snake vs. Blocks 3, 2, 1. And with this game as well, the 13 Pro significantly slower here. You're able to tell that. The 16 was definitely way faster here for sure. Getting into the actual gameplay, let's hop out of here. Stack 3, 2, 1. And I'll tell you to kind of sum this speed comparison up. You're definitely getting an overall faster phone on something like the iPhone 16. That's definitely going to be the faster device. I think the 13 Pro is still doing pretty well, but the 16 is going to be the faster one, newer chipset, better RAM, more RAM, all that stuff. Definitely the 16 is better, but the 13 Pro still is like doing pretty decent for how old the phone is, in my personal opinion. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there too. Now on top of that, with the cameras, like I said before, both are giving you solid cameras, 4K at 60 on the front and the back. The iPhone 13 Pro is giving you this actual, telephoto lens, which is really nice to have. But the iPhone 16 is giving you this camera button, which is nice, right? Is it a really good feature? Are you going to upgrade to it just because of that? Probably not, right? I think it's a cool novelty. It's a nice feature to have, but it's not really the biggest deal in the world. You can zoom in, zoom out with it. I think it's a good, solid camera. Like it's a good camera for sure, but it's definitely not like the best camera I've ever seen. With something, like if you're taking a look at both, the iPhone 16 can give you 10x zoom. The iPhone 13 Pro can give you 15x zoom. So significantly more zooming in inside of the iPhone 13 Pro. But I can kind of say that even at 10x zoom, there seems to be more like graininess going on for the iPhone 13 Pro camera, if you can kind of tell that over the lens. But you're getting photo mode, portrait mode on both, spatial mode on the iPhone 16, which is really, really nice. That's a really cool feature. On top of that, cinematic mode on both, which is nice, slow mode, time lapse. Still a lot of good stuff on both these phones, which is really cool. And I like both these phones a lot because of it. But you are probably getting an overall better camera, layout on the iPhone 16. But the hardware with the iPhone 13 Pro, like I wish this one had a triple camera setup. So to kind of sum up this video, it's kind of confusing, right? Because in some ways the iPhone 16 is better, and most ways the 16 is better. You're getting a phone that's going to be lasting longer. You're getting a phone that's going to be giving you better performance, a kind of a brighter display, like good build quality. I'm trying to think what else. Probably better battery life too, better performance too. So the 16 still has a lot of capability for it. But I look at something like the iPhone 13 Pro, and I like this phone a lot. Right, this phone is really good. You're getting a ProMotion display, better build quality on this phone, arguably. Kind of an interesting camera, not better, but not worse, but different. And I think for the price tag for this phone, the 13 Pro, if you can get it for like less than $400, I think that's a really good price to pay for this type of device. But I think the 16 is still a very good phone too. It's interesting when compared to these two because the 13 Pro does have some extra key features that the 16 doesn't have. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. Let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.